So yes, I was at the City ground. Possibly less said about that the better. It was an awful performance from Forest without Morgan Gibbs-White. It really showed no invention. Fulham looked solid though, to be fair to them. They didn't allow us to create anything, just an indication. 0.25 was the highest XGI on show in this game, and that was achieved by Hudson-Odoi, who came off the bench in the second half. So wasn't really any standout players. Adama did well for them, he looked really good. Smith Rowe I was kind of disappointed with really. He got a couple of shots off in the box, but was a lot deeper than I thought he would be. Definitely more of an 8 than a 10, I would say. Maybe that's just away from home. More on him and how he compares to other players later. But yeah, Fulham looks solid. I mean, they're going to go to Man City next, and that won't be a walkover. I mean, we're going to obviously Haaland captain because it's the Etihad, but I don't think City are going to rout them, that's for sure. The only other thing I've noticed, Jimenez got 3 and 3 now. He took the pen and it wasn't expected. Pereira got fouled for the penalty, and he was injured, milking it a little bit maybe, and so didn't take the spot kick. So it was confirmed afterwards that he is the pen taker, but just in this instance, it went to Jimenez. He profited. That's his 50th Premier League goal. Well done to Jimenez. Not an option I don't think we're going to look at, because there are still other strikers ahead of him, probably in that bracket as well. The main talking point, no doubt, has got to be Palmer, and let's get on to that, because that's got to be the meat of things. Oh my word. I mean, statistically, he just wasn't performing up until this game. There was no question about that. I mean, I think he's been averaging 1 shot or less than 1 shot in the box per game until this weekend. And then he got five in this one. No question, he's always had the ability to do that. He's an elite player, probably my second favourite player behind Trent. So of course I rate him, and of course I knew he could pull that out, but 4 goals in the first half. Unbelievable. For those who went with him on a wild card, and I saw the logic, of course I did. Go Havertz to cover Saka, go Palmer over Saka, there it is. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't look at it, but I wanted Saka the talisman against Leicester, and more on him in a bit. But going back to Palmer, just extraordinary performance. Has to be said that Brighton were pretty awful. A high line was suicidal at times, lots of mistakes. I've never seen a game where 5 of the 6 goals were down to errors, which is what we saw yesterday. Yeah, I've never seen that from Opta before. So yes, Brighton were suicidal. They can't keep playing like that. I mean, Hertzler's got to change something. They did have injuries. Van Heck was out, Veltman was out, and that didn't help the situation. But it's just the stubbornness to stick with that tactic. Just made it so simple for Chelsea. I mean, it was epitomised by a second half where Palmer lofted a ball lackadaisically just over the Brighton defence. It was like saying, this is how simple it is. Jackson got on the end of it, didn't convert. That could have been an assist. Plus Palmer hit the post. It could have been a lot worse for Brighton and a lot better for those who went Palmer on the wild card. I found it amusing that the ownership is fairly low still in terms of the top 10k. In fact, in the top 10k, the ownership there was lower than it is in dead teams, so teams that have been inactive. And that just shows you how strong the template has been till now, and that Palmer hasn't been part of it. He's something like 30% owned across the game though, but mainly from either inactive managers or managers who aren't in the Twitter or X bubble, whatever you want to call it. So I'm guilty of sticking to template on my wildcard, absolutely. But I'm at peace with it because I think I was always going to go Saka against Leicester, and it just didn't work out for me. Why did it happen? I mean, Gusto was in the side, so maybe that did help. Maybe having a right back behind him rather than a centre back in that role allowed him to push on more. But I looked at the average positions, and I mean, Maresca played a back 4. I mean, the fullbacks didn't invert at all. They were right back deep with the centre backs. Brighton pushing them back with that high line, I guess. But Palmer Madueke just had loads of space in behind, and I really thought it was going to be the wingers or Jackson that would profit, but instead it was Palmer. Not getting him in. Forest next, and Forest won't turn up with that kind of high line. It'll probably be a much more traditional low block, so I would have thought Palmer would find it a little bit more difficult. But then after that, maybe Saka to Palmer is the move, because Arsenal's fixtures do get tougher. And although the fixtures aren't great for Palmer, he's got that ability. He is elite, and it's a great thing for FPL. Let's get it straight. While I'm not salty about missing out on the points, in fact, I'm really happy that Palmer has done what I've been crying out for, which is to break out and offer an alternative to Haaland. And now we need Salah to keep his form up, maybe hit a big score, and Saka to do the same. And then we'll have the variety in the game that I really hoped we would have at the start of the season. So it's a good thing. Well done, Kyle Palmer, and congrats again to those managers who got him in early. No question then that Palmer's gone to the top of the midfield scoring now, and he did get 7 shots and an XGI of 1.64, but even that doesn't compare to the numbers that Saka rolled out in Arsenal's 4-2 win over Leicester. This was an extraordinary game actually. 4.99 was Arsenal's XG against 0.27 for Leicester, and yet it turned out a 4-2, a very one-sided affair in terms of the data yet. And Saka was ridiculous. 7 shots, 5 in the box, 8 chances created, including 4 big chances. And he had successful dribbles, etc. And that helped him get 3 bonus points without actually getting a return in the game. He had an assist briefly for Trossard's goal from the corner, but it was taken off him because it was deemed an own goal, and therefore Trossard got the assist. I think that's fair enough. You could say it was on target, but I'll take the 3 bonus points. Very unfortunate as someone who captained Saka over Haaland. I thought I'd go with that because I thought Haaland might struggle a little bit at Newcastle, but we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Saka was extraordinary in the game in terms of output on data, but not output in terms of FPL points, and that's what matters, and we need him to step up. We need him to follow Palmer's lead. He's not got that ceiling, and that's the debate, isn't it, when we look at Saka versus Palmer. He doesn't have that ability to get a big burst of points like the 25 that Palmer gave us now in this game week. But Saka has returned in every game. This is the first time he hasn't, but I guess with the 3 bonus, we got something from it. Martinelli and Trossard. Martinelli recorded 1.05 XGI, Trossard 1.23. Havertz beat that, 2.22. He had 7 shots, and they all came out of it with a goal, of course. And Havertz, I think it was 12 touches in the box, did get forward a lot. So I had some concern that Trossard would be in that central role and Havertz wouldn't take up central attacking areas as much. But in the home games, I don't think that's going to be true, particularly against the low block. So I should have gone with him really over Watkins, but we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I mean, he was very impressive in that game in terms of getting forward and in terms of data. And you've got to think for Southampton at home, it will follow that lead, won't it? Follow suit. So yeah, Arsenal came out of it without a clean sheet, and of course, so much was made of the riot turning up. We had the hotel footage Saturday morning, of course, and a mad panic. I went without him in the end. I went with Saliba and Gabriel. I wasn't sure whether he'd start or not. None of us really were, but of course he turned up and led in 2 goals. Unfortunate on both of them, I guess, because one was a deflection, the other one was a worldie, both from James Justin, which was incredible. Did you see before the game, Focal, who gets players, footballers, teams, James Justin had actually dropped himself to the bench and picked 2 Arsenal defenders, I believe, and then he goes and scores 2 goals against them. The irony of it. But yeah, I mean, Leicester perhaps deserved more. I mean, it was probably a red card for Calafiori, and yeah, there was a foul on Vardy for the first goal. So Cooper had a point, but in the end, Arsenal just get the win, don't they? They make it happen. I'm not worried about the goals conceded because, as I said, the XG data shows that they didn't concede too much to Leicester. Harmanson, though, a word for him, 12 saves, wasn't he? Absolutely outstanding. And what's ironic as well, under the new bonus system, he got absolutely nothing for 12 saves. Last season, he would have got at least 1 bonus point, wouldn't he? Is that right or wrong? We can debate that. I think he deserves something for what was an outstanding performance on quite an unfortunate day for Leicester and Leicester fans. just a little more on that Arsenal game. I saw Timber got the assist, and he's actually created 8 chances this season, which is 5th overall for defenders, so worth keeping an eye on. Of course, White is a threat to his start. But we saw it with Ben White last season, how he was getting forward on that side. At the moment it's Timber, so let's keep an eye on that. He's a 5-5 option, of course. Let's talk about Man City then. Haaland blanked, 0.55 XGI, 5 shots, got a bit of a knock early on, and struggled really to make an impression. I think it's more about City as a team. He did have the 5 shots, but City without Rodri, without De Bruyne, those are crucial components in the machine, and it did tell. But I think the biggest factor was Newcastle raising their game. I did wonder whether we get more from Newcastle when City came to town, and so it was. I mean, they were really in their face without Isak, but Gordon looked lively up top. And they exploited the space that City had without Rodri. Guimaraes slotting in Gordon for the penalty, of course. So maybe better for Newcastle, maybe a suggestion we're going to get Isak and Gordon back as factors in our FPL season. We've got to hope that. And as for City, no alarm bells. One thing to point out, Lewis did start. He started in midfield in Rodri's absence. He wasn't inverted because Walker started behind him. It was Akanji who seemed to be the one inverting from the back, and Vardiol did play a more traditional left-sided centre-back or left-back role. He did get forward for the goal, of course, and in fact, you're looking at touches in the box of defenders now over the season. Lewis has 21 on his top with Munoz of Crystal Palace, which is quite interesting in itself. Vardiol has 20 low, and the difference is Vardiol's got 7 shots on goal to Lewis's 2, and that's the difference. He does offer more goal threat, so he still could be a factor. But of course, with Lewis about and City conceding silly goals, we're not going to go Vardiol, I don't think, in the main, unless you really want to double up on that City defence. And Lewis should get that midfield role. And against teams that are going to low block, like Fulham next week, I think he could be a factor. Maybe could offer attacking returns. Certainly, we should get some clean sheets out of him against teams like Fulham who won't come to attack or won't come to be in their face as much as perhaps Newcastle were this week. So Salah returned to try and keep pace with Haaland, got the penalty, was a bit fortunate throughout the game, I thought. 3 shots, 2 chances created, 13 touches in the box, 0.67 XGI overall. But he had opportunities to get more. He had a good chance when there was almost an open goal that he put wide, and he had a chance to put Jones in for an assist late on that he fluffed. Didn't play well first half either. Him and Jota and Diaz really looked ineffective, particularly in the first half. Wasn't really impressed with Liverpool. Diaz, of course, lots of interest in him going into the game week, and he had probably his least effective game of the season. Go figure. 1 shot, I think 1 chance created. Nothing really of note for him, and he lasted until the 73rd minute. Predictably subbed, of course, with Gakpo a factor. Interestingly, though, Jota got the 90, got the 2 assists, but got the full 90 minutes. I don't know whether that indicates anything maybe for the midweek European tie, we'll have to see, but rotation is there. Diaz should be okay, depending on how that midweek lineup goes. And Liverpool now overall are top of the XG ratings for attack and defence, so we can't look beyond them really. I think we've got to have some coverage in there. Trent plus 1 attacker I think is the way I'm going to go for now, but let's see how their rotation shapes up. As for Wolves, Aït-Nouri was the one who showed up with the goal. We're not looking at them at the moment, but if we do, and if the fixtures get better, Aït-Nouri is the one we're going to possibly look at. 8 shots overall this season. He's 3rd best for defenders now. No doubt his appeal, but while they're conceding goals, even at 4-4, we're probably not going to go there. So Brentford 1, West Ham 1, pretty predictable stuff really. As I expect was the first minute goal, the 3rd match in a row, a record for Brentford. Mbeumo with another one of those like chipped volleys that he did, one like the one at Spurs. Carvalho with the assist, which is interesting. 4.8 midfielder option, 1 to keep an eye on. He started in a free with Sharda for Brentford. That's what I expected. We're going to get that without Wissa there, and when Brentford don't play free at the back, I would expect to see those front 3. And Mbeumo's the one though, he's pretty much essential for this run of fixtures. 0.64 his XGI from this game from the 4 shots. What to say about West Ham? I mean, there's a lot of dissent about Lopetegui. He didn't help that by taking Kudus off at half-time. Very strange decision given how mercurial Kudus can be. And he scored a great goal there last season. So West Ham really not a side we're looking at still. Bowen would be the only one. They've got Ipswich next, but even with Ipswich next, I wouldn't be going there. I think Ipswich will probably go to West Ham thinking they can get some kind of result. The final game to look at is Everton 2, Crystal Palace 1, and McNeil's the standout there. I talked about Smith Rowe, and who I think is actually better now in that bracket, and McNeil at 5-4 did get some wildcard interest, but him for me looked a lot more forward thinking, looked a lot more potential output than even Smith Rowe. Playing in that central role, very, very close to Calvert-Lewin. If you look at the average positions from this game, they've got Ndiaye playing out the left and McNeil tucked in, and he got the 2 goals, a world-class finish for the first goal and then an opportunist strike for the second. But he was impressive throughout, 0.48 XGI from 3 shots, 1 chance created, 21 chances created now for the season. That's the most amongst midfielders. And for me, yeah, he's got to get some attention, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not being a little bit more brave on the wild card and going there with him. So that's it for Saturday's action. It's Sunday afternoon. I've got some players playing today. I've got Rodgers and Watkins, who I hope can get me some points to add to the 27 I've got already, because it's not a great wild card at the moment. More on that at the end of the game week. I've got Semenyo Monday night as well, so I'll be back over the next couple of days to finish this video off. Looking forward to the game this afternoon, hoping some points. I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning, just about. Yeah, a bit miserable. So yeah, Rodgers and Watkins delivered then. Very happy with that. The combination looks good. Watkins very, very efficient. Only had 1 shot and scored. Only had 1 chance created, and got the assist for Rodgers' goal. It was Rodgers who was subbed earlier with Duran coming on. I think mainly because he was on the verge of a yellow card, and obviously with the Bayern Munich tie in mind. Watkins went off eventually, and that's always going to be a thing with him, isn't it? When we got Watkins, is that we'll be looking at the clock and waiting for those minutes to come up, because Duran is inevitably going to get on. But I was impressed with what I saw and happy to own them both going into next game week. Ipswich for them, did put up a fight, and I thought they would. And Davis, 7 chances created. He's what we expected of him. He really is becoming a creative outlet for them, and someone I've got my eye on when the fixtures improve for them. And then Delap with the 2 goals, who now clearly has emerged as the key 5-5 option and replacement for João Pedro if you haven't yet moved him on. I mean, I've gone Stewart, so I've gone 4-6 and very cheap, so I can't get to him. But I imagine anyone going into game week 7 on the wild card is now looking at Delap. Let's talk about the other game, of course. Man United Spurs. What a disaster for Man United. I mean, they were playing badly before the Bruno red card, but Fernandes just finds ways of trolling FPL managers this season. For those who kept the faith with him, and a lot of analytics managers did go with Fernandes and kept the faith, thinking that he could turn the corner. Of course, we know he's capable, but then to get a red card really does compound it. And United were just miserable throughout. And Spurs, I did think Spurs would win, and they did, and they won it far more comfortably than I expected. Johnson got him out of a goal and assist, 1.12 XGI. Solanke, 1.34 XGI. Could have got more than his single goal that he got right at the death from the corner. Kulusevski, the other standout, he came out with 0.82 XGI, 9 key passes on the day. And in fact, Spurs registered 4.59 XG against United at Old Trafford. I think that's some kind of record for XG conceded at Old Trafford. So it could have been worse. It could have been worse for United. It could have been better for Solanke owners. But it just compounds what we know of United. They go to Villa next. So as someone who's holding Watkins and Rodgers, I think I've got to play them both in that game against what looks like a fragile United. As for Spurs, they go to Brighton next, and we saw how they're defending at the moment. So I do worry that I don't have any Spurs attackers going into that game, because I just can't see Brighton containing them. So that leaves us with tonight's fixtures. Bournemouth take on Southampton in a derby. I've got Semenyo, and again, hoping for some points. Hello, back in the shed to finish this off with. Yeah, I'm not going out in the streets with a camera this time of night, not with the Crawley Massive out there, so no, I'll stay here in the warm. Bournemouth have just won 3-1. Semenyo's got me 7 points. I was happy with that. 4 shots, 2 chances created, 0.3 XGI. Nothing too impressive, but he was the best attacking player on the pitch for Bournemouth. And someone I've got to play at Leicester in game week 7. I was kind of teetering on whether to bench him, but not after I saw that. Difficult fixtures to come after that for Bournemouth, though. Arsenal, Villa, City. So Semenyo might be someone I have to bench eventually, but not game week 7. Elsewhere, Tavernier looked good, but I just don't see a place for him in our midfield. And Evan Nielsen got his first Premier League goal, so maybe he's now going to attempt some investment as a budget striker, but not in the formation I'm playing. But we'll look at how he develops for sure. He's one to keep an eye on at 5.9. As for Southampton, whipping boys. They first half was abysmal, caved in under the Bournemouth attack, and they go to Arsenal next. And already I'm thinking, am I not going to captain Haaland again? Am I going to have to go with Saka because of what I saw from Southampton tonight? Spirited second half, but if any team in the Premier League is going to get whacked 6 or 7 goals, you'd put your money on it being Southampton. So it might be a question of when. And they go to Man City in a couple of weeks and people are already talking online about maybe Haaland triple captain, and you can see it, can't you? Yeah, so game week over, 48 points. I've got to say, I did lose points, 4 points to Saka because of the BPS changing last night. Because I said earlier he got 3 bonus, that got reduced to 1. Pretty upset by that. I like the idea of updating the BPS until I'm on the wrong end of it, and now I think it's a bit of a fun. No, I don't think it's a fun. It's the right thing to do, and I'll take it. So Saka down to 1 bonus point, so I lost 4 in total there as my captain. Down to 48, I'll take it. I had to play the wild card. I had 4 injuries and Raya a doubt. It had to be played. I got some good price rises. I've got a decent team. I'm a bit disappointed I got seduced by Diaz. Got taken in maybe there, and he's going to be a concern. I'll probably play him at Palace and see how he does, but probably not long term. But elsewhere, I'm happy with how it went. The only thing I'm not happy about is that my team is almost identical to Az. So, BlackBox on Thursday, tune in for that when we pick the bones really out of our wild cards and discuss our next moves. And we can't have similar teams for too long. I just won't let it happen. Hope you enjoyed this anyway. Don't forget to subscribe for more of this and for more BlackBox. Hit the likes if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.